Like 5,000 likes to this video, we will upload more patriotic news. Thank you. Baltimore Ravens look to sign Kaepernick, but look how many fans say they will boycott if they do. Kaepernick is back in the news again, and this time he is not slamming America like he did on the 4th of July. This time Kaepernick has been eyed for a position on the Baltimore Ravens team, and of course, the internet had something to say about it. Kaepernick is no stranger to controversy and seems to relish the role of angering the majority of the American people. Kaepernick first found himself in a scalding pot of water after he decided to start kneeling during the national anthem. No matter what people said to Kaepernick or the number of protests that occurred because of it, he continued to kneel. Shortly after the season ended, Kaepernick ended up losing his gig as the quarterback on the San Francisco 49ers. Instead of Kaepernick taking this as a wake-up call and dialing back his offensive stance, he only held firmer. So, because of those actions, Kaepernick has found it hard to find employment on another football team. Kaepernick has tried to blame the reason he has not found gainful employment on another team on racism, but that could not be further from the truth. Most teams' owners do not want to hire Kaepernick, not because of racism, but on the simple fact of that he is too controversial. Which is being demonstrated when the Baltimore Ravens approached the idea of signing Kaepernick to their team. Reports began to circulate at the end of last week that the Baltimore Ravens were interested in signing controversial Kaepernick. As soon as word began to trickle out on social media that this could possibly happen, fans immediately reacted. Ravens fans started to air their grievances about it online, and their message was clear: sign anti-American Kaepernick and they are gone. According to one poll, online, a whopping 48% of Ravens fans have said they will boycott if Kaepernick was signed. Here is more NBC Sports. If recent comments by Ravens coach John Harbaugh regarding the potential signing of quarterback Colin Kaepernick were meant to be a trial balloon, it apparently is made of lead. Mike Silver of NFL Media reports that the Ravens have heard from numerous fans regarding Kaepernick in the last couple of days, many staunchly opposed to his signing. It's hardly a surprise, given that Giants co-owner John Mara already has provided all anti-Kaepernick fans with a blueprint for shouting down a potential Kaepernick signing. All my years being in the league, I never received more emotional mail from people than I did about that issue, Mara said in May. If any of your players ever do that, we are never coming to another Giants game. It wasn't 1 or 2 letters. It was a lot. It's an emotional issue for a lot of people, more so than any other issue I've run into. It's impossible to know whether the fans from whom the Ravens have heard are only Ravens fans, or whether they are fans of other teams who simply want to see Kaepernick remain unemployed. Regardless, it's no surprise that those who don't want to see Kaepernick on an NFL team are trying to block it from happening at a time when it appears that it could. Maybe those who support the employment of Kaepernick, those who made his 49ers jersey the 17th highest selling jersey in May, should start contacting the Ravens as well, regardless of whether they are Ravens fans. Ultimately, the question becomes whether Ravens owner Steve Bisciotti will ignore the noise, positive and/or negative, and make a decision based solely on the objective of winning football games. After all, that's what the commissioner claims all teams do. Well, it is obvious that the Ravens owners paid attention to the pushback and made the choice to pass on Kaepernick. The Ravens owners decided on Friday to sign 25-year-old David Olson, who most recently played in the Arena Football League. NBC reported, Olson's resume, a former backup at Clemson with no NFL experience, certainly pales in comparison to Kaepernick's. And while Harbaugh insisted Friday that Olson simply was a camp arm, and that signing him wouldn't prevent the team from also adding Kaepernick at some point, Baltimore's transaction still sparked controversy. Many believe Kaepernick is being passed over due to the publicity he's generated while trying to spread awareness of social inequality in America. And a quick look at Twitter after Olson's signing proved just how polarizing a figure Kaepernick is. Which of course, brought out the social justice warriors to claim that Kaepernick was blackballed. Kaepernick did this to himself the minute that he decided to kneel during the national anthem. This was a spit in the face of all nations' veterans, and it shows how little respect this man truly has for our country. If Kaepernick wants to take a knee, that is his choice, but that does not mean he is immune from the consequences. Maybe when he chooses to apologize for his actions and show some respect, he will get a job again. However, most team owners do not want to take a chance on someone that causes grief to their fans, and that is their right to. Truth. Final nail in Wasserman's coffin after what was just found in her hidden bank account. As we have previously reported, former Democrat Party Chair Debbie Blabbermouth Schultz had to hire herself some top-notch criminal attorneys after she actively threatened, on video, the chief of the U.S. Capitol Police, with consequences for holding equipment that she says belongs to her in order to build a criminal case against a Pakistani staffer. The staffer in question is Imran Awan and his cohorts, which are suspected of massive cybersecurity breaches which involve the funneling of sensitive congressional data offsite to who knows where, and even kidnapping of the stepmother of the ringleaders in order to keep her quiet of the scam they were all pulling. All of this was a group of foreign IT people who were hired and protected by Blabbermouth herself. Awan was arrested last week as he attempted to flee the U.S. after wiring approximately $300,000 to his home country of Pakistan. His lawyer actually had the audacity to claim that the accusations of bank fraud are due to anti-Muslim bigotry brought on by President Donald Trump being elected president. Huh? Via Daily Caller, Democratic Representative Debbie Wasserman Schultz seemingly planned to pay cyber probe suspect and IT aide Imran Awan even while he was living in Pakistan, if the FBI hadn't stopped him from leaving the U.S. Monday. Public statements and congressional payroll records suggest she also appears to have known that his wife, a fellow IT staffer, left the country for good months ago, while she was also a criminal suspect. In all, 6 months of actions reveal a decision to continue paying a man who seemingly could not have been providing services to her, and who a mountain of evidence suggests was a liability. The man long had access to all of Wasserman Schultz's computer files, work emails and personal emails, and he was recently accused by a relative in court documents of wiretapping and extortion. Records also raise questions about whether the Florida Democrat permitted Awan to continue to access computers after House-wide authorities banned him from the network February 2. Not only did she keep him on staff after the ban, but she also did not have any other IT person to perform necessary work that presumably would have arisen during a months-long period, according to payroll records. Wasserman Schultz employed Pakistani-born Awan and his wife Hina Elvi, and refused to fire either of them even after U.S. Capitol Police said in February 2017 that they were targets of the criminal investigation. She said police wouldn't show her evidence against the couple and, without it, she assumed they might be victims of anti-Muslim profiling. East County Magazine reports, July 26, 2017, Washington, D.C., an IT aide who worked for Congresswoman Debbie Wasserman Schultz, the former Democratic National Committee chair, has been arrested on bank fraud charges while trying to board a plane to Pakistan at Dulles Airport in Virginia. Imran Awan had been accused of double-charging the House for information technology equipment earlier this year and was fired in March by House Democrats amid a criminal investigation. But he was still on the payroll for Wasserman Schultz as an advisor until yesterday's arrest on a separate fraud matter, The Hill reports. According to Associated Press, Awan has been charged with fraudulently claiming a home as his primary residence to obtain a bank loan from the Congressional Federal Credit Union, but he and his wife did not live in the home. Records also show that $283,000 was wired to 2 people in Pakistan, according to agents who testified that they followed Awan's wife, Hina Elvi, to the Dallas airport in March, where she boarded a flight to Pakistan and has not returned. The government contends the couple intended to flee the country, though both had booked return tickets months later. Awan's attorney has also claimed the prosecution is motivated by bias against Muslims. After his arrest, Wasserman Schultz's office announced that Awan has been fired. This is not the first ethical controversy in which Wasserman Schultz has been embroiled. The Florida Congresswoman drew criticism for co-authoring legislation that sought to delay implementation of consumer protection regulations authorized by the Dodd-Frank Wall Street Reform and Consumer Protection Act intended to regulate financial institutions. After WikiLeaks published Democrat National Committee emails which revealed that Democratic National Committee staffers working for Wasserman Schultz had actively worked to boost Hillary Clinton over Bernie Sanders during the Democratic primary, a violation of party rules, Wasserman Schultz was pushed to resign. She initially refused, until asked by President Barack Obama to step down, the Washington Post reported at the time. She ultimately resigned, but only after the nominating convention was completed. She then joined the Clinton campaign. Her fired aide, Awan, has pled not guilty to the fraud charges in U.S. District Court. He has been released under a surveillance program and prohibited from traveling farther than 50 miles from his home. His attorney has indicated that a preliminary hearing is set for August 21. But now things have gotten even more tangled. It's now being reported that once the group had fled back to their home country of Pakistan, Wasserman Schultz, aka Jar Jar Binks, was actually planning to pay them a salary once they got there. This smells of blackmail. Since these IT people are not actively working for anyone anymore, the only valid reason the former chair of the Democrat Party would ever continue to pay these people is if they have something on her, or the Democrat Party itself. I am sure that whatever it is that Blabbermouth is paying to hide will be exposed. After all, you can only evade justice for so long, unless you're a Clinton, that is. Please share if you want authorities to get to the bottom of this mess. Every congressman who killed healthcare furious at what Trump just took from them. And this is why we elected, defend, and support President Donald J. Trump. Since the Republican-led Senate has decided we peons are stuck having to pay for Obamacare, President Donald Trump has now threatened to end all government payments to lawmaker health insurers if Congress does not pass a new health care bill. He also made it very clear to call to attention the fact that they lied to the American people for 7 years by saying that if they would elect the GOP they would, in fact, be repealing and replacing the failing Obamacare law. This tweet came a day after Senate Republicans, led by Arizona Senator and our favorite traitor, failed to get the 51 votes which would have been enough to at least repeal parts of the Affordable Care Act. President Barack Obama's signature health care bill, commonly known as Obamacare, which is on the way to collapse, which would lead to the enactment of a single-payer European model of insurance where everyone's health insurance is subject to what the government feels is sufficient. Everyone except lawmakers, that is. National Review reports, Obamacare failure is on the Democrats, premium and deductible costs are rising and choice and competition are decreasing. As of now, over 1,200 counties will have only one insurance provider available on the individual market next year, and 35,000 individuals will live in counties with no options available at all. These numbers are expected to increase as insurers finalize their 2018 plans in the upcoming weeks, and yet, Democratic lawmakers have not introduced any major legislation to try and fix the system. Senate Republicans are planning to vote on their version of the long-awaited healthcare replacement bill as early as next week. This is the latest development in the contentious process of dismantling the Affordable Care Act. The unveiling of the Better Care Reconciliation Act sets up another showdown of competing narratives. ACA supporters will accuse Republicans of cutting coverage and reducing benefits, and the GOP will point to a flawed system that is losing insurers and forcing double-digit premium increases on families across the country. This face-off is nothing new. The conversation has played out repeatedly over the past 6 months. But one thing no one seems to be talking about is that Republicans are the only ones attempting to address the rising costs, declining quality of coverage, and increasing lack of choice in the healthcare marketplace. Democrats seem to be content with the status quo of the Affordable Care Act. Premium and deductible costs are rising and choice and competition are decreasing. As of now, over 1,200 counties will have only one insurance provider available on the individual market next year, and 35,000 individuals will live in counties with no options available at all. These numbers are expected to increase as insurers finalize their 2018 plans in the upcoming weeks, and yet, Democratic lawmakers have not introduced any major legislation to try and fix the system. They have taken the easy way out, showboating and complaining instead of working on a solution to stabilize the health insurance market. Republicans should no longer let their colleagues across the aisle get a free pass on the healthcare reform discussion. They cannot assume that just because the ACA is unpopular with their conservative base, replacing it will be a political win for the party. In addition to highlighting the merits of their own bill, Republicans must also continue to show the country that the ACA is a disastrous law, but one that Democrats are nonetheless committed to preserving. The Democrats' refusal to change current law most likely stems from an unwillingness to admit that the ACA has not lived up to its promises. Conservatives predicted 8 years ago that a government-heavy healthcare system would lead to decreased competition and increased costs. Democrats should not let embarrassment that those predictions came true prevent real solutions and lasting reform. To anyone who has ever wondered what we patriotic red-blooded Americans saw in Donald Trump need to look no further. President Trump isn't in it for the fame, glory, or money, he has had that for years. Today he has done what all of us have been saying since day one. If Obamacare is so great, then why did the hacks in Congress exempt themselves? What makes them, and their family, more special than myself and my family? Other than the fact that myself and my family didn't make it to where we are by lying, cheating, and stealing. Please share if you want to see the hacks in Congress on the same healthcare plan we peons have.